Hello everyone and welcome back to Big Ten Under 10 on the Hoosier Network. I'm Graham Nash, as always with Adam Oppenheim, and we are bringing you more updates from the women's side of the Big Ten. Softball has started, but we're going to begin on the court with some basketball before moving to the diamond for the first time in Big Ten Under 10 history. The top-ranked Bruins continued to roll through the Big Ten, taking down unranked Oregon on the road by 10 and 8th-ranked OSU by 13 at home. The Buckeyes, they had a really tough week, also losing to the 7th-ranked USC Trojans in Los Angeles by double digits. The Trojans went 2 for 2 last week, also taking down unranked Wisconsin by double digits. 16th-ranked Maryland had a strong West Coast swing, taking down unranked Oregon by 18 and unranked Washington by 8. Lastly, unranked Michigan took down 20th-ranked Michigan State by 10 in East Lansing. Huge win for the Wolverines. Another team that had a great week and, frankly, a great last couple of weeks are the Iowa Hawkeyes. And we've got Adam at the board breaking down why they've had so much success recently against some really talented Big Ten teams. Adam?
Thanks, Graham. Another week back in the film room. This time we will be breaking down some plays from Iowa and their star, Lucy Olson, who has led the Hawkeyes to 5 straight wins. A ton of plays stood out to me in Iowa's win on the road in Lincoln, but I will break down just 4 of those plays. Let's start here in the first quarter. Cynthia Falter has the ball on the left wing, drives into the paint, draws to really not good defense by Nebraska. You see here they have 2 on the ball. Lucy Olson is going to pop out for a three-pointer, wide open, miscommunication, wide open 3, knocks it in. Let's move on to the second play. This one's in the second half. Lucy Olson again has the ball, gets a little bit of a goal screen from Hannah Stuelke, and then watch Stuelke roll to the cup. Once again, there's 2 on the ball against Lucy Olson, and Hannah Stuelke just rolls to the cup, wide open. Alexis Markowski, her eyes are towards Olson, and Stuelke sneaks in behind. Not good, weak side defense by Britt Prince there. Easy bucket for Iowa. And they continue to roll into the second half. 52-46, very similar situation here in this next play where Lucy Olson's going downhill. Now Nebraska is going to make the adjustment. If you watch Britt Prince right here, as we roll the clip, she's going to move over, and as the pass was going to go to Stuelke, instead, Lucy Olson, with a terrific offhand pass in the corner, Taylor McCabe knocks down the 3. That's a great adjustment from Iowa to Nebraska's adjustment on the defensive end. Lastly, we're going to look at this final defensive effort by Nebraska, trying anything they can to get it out of Lucy Olson's hands. Nebraska blitzes Lucy Olson, and you'll see here, 2 on the ball. So what does Lucy Olson do? Backs up, then gets rid of it. Cynthia Falter, if you stop it here, she has 3 teammates open. 1, 2, 3, but has the angle instead to beat Hargrove off the dribble, gets it to go, and the foul. Just an impressive showing by Iowa. Lucy Olson was picking apart the Cornhuskers defense all night long. 32 points, 7 assists, 6 rebounds, in what was probably her best game this season. The Hawkeyes were near the bottom of the Big Ten Conference at 2-6, and they now sit at 7-6. We will see if they can climb even higher in the coming week. Graham?
Great job, Adam. The Hawkeyes were ranked to start the season out, but they fell out of the top 25 when conference play began. Their win against the USC Trojans could be reason for them to sneak back into that ranked spot before the Big Ten tournament at the end of the month. And Adam, you've rejoined us here at the desk. We're going to talk about some of the other matchups. Let's start with Ohio State, who had a really tough week. How concerned are you after their 2 losses on the road?
Honestly, not at all. Ohio State lost to the 2 best teams in the Big Ten by far. We've talked about it week after week, UCLA and USC. Now remember, they've lost a couple players from last year who are key contributors, J.C. Sheldon and Celeste Taylor, who was probably the Ohio State's best perimeter defender. And they just kind of need more players to step up. Jelani Cambridge is a freshman, pretty highly ranked in her class, and has been really good this year. I think is the 2nd or 3rd leading scorer on Ohio State. But who's going to be that other scorer to step up? That's really the question for Ohio State. We've seen it in a bunch of recent years with the Buckeyes. They've been able to make it, decently far in the NCAA tournament, the Big Ten tournament. But who is their one superstar player? Last year was J.C. Sheldon. Who is it going to be this year for the Buckeyes?
And I gotta say, I don't think there's anything harder in college sports right now than going to Los Angeles and playing those two West Coast teams in women's basketball.
That's right.
That's what we're gonna move to now. UCLA and USC, they are going to finally play each other in one of the most highly anticipated games of this season. Who do you have winning it all?
I think I want to lean UCLA.
Okay.
I know it's at USC, but I trust the others more of UCLA than USC. I like Juju Watkins and Kiki Iriafen. They've been really good for USC, but I don't know who's the third scorer outside of those two. For UCLA, they have Kiki Rice and Gabriela Hawkeyes, who have been really good. And I trust the three-point shooting at UCLA more. I think they're maybe only 1% better, but they just get better looks. And Lauren Betts is obviously really hard to guard down low. The thing I will say is if it gets to a close game, 1 or 2 possession game with like a minute or less left, I'm going to trust USC more. Because Juju Watkins, she can go get you a bucket, is the best bucket getter in the country. And Juju Watkins is very similar to Caitlin Clark in that way with Iowa. That's why Iowa always went so far. Down the stretch, you trust the ball in her hands. Watkins obviously isn't as good of a playmaker as Clark, but she's up there in terms of her scoring ability and getting off a shot. If you're UCLA, you don't really go to the post too often down the stretch in games. That just doesn't happen. I trust the ball in Juju Watkins' hands. That being said, give me UCLA.
UCLA.
And staying undefeated, too. I mean,
yeah.
This is huge because they play on March 1st again. I really wish they just played earlier in the year, honestly.
Yeah.
Because there's been too much discussion about comparing them to the other Big Ten teams. We want to see the matchup of UCLA and USC.
Yeah.
We have it.
They've made us wait for it. It's going to be very exciting. March 1st, the battle for Los Angeles. We're going to switch gears and talk softball for the very first time in the Big Ten. There were a ton of scores last week, so we're only going to tell you about the records of the top teams to start out the season. Number 4, UCLA, and number 20, Oregon, got off to hot starts, winning all 5 of their games to start the season. They both are 5-0. Number 21, Northwestern, didn't have as much success, losing 2 of their 5. They sit at 3-2. Defending Big Ten champs Michigan are unranked and 2-3 to start the season. Big Ten runner-ups Indiana also unranked, but they are 4-1. They lost their season opener, but then run-ruled their next 3 games. Adam, we'll turn back to you. There's not a lot of information to go off of this early into the season, but based on what we know, who do you think is most likely going to come out on top of the Big Ten this season in softball?
I think it's the UCLA Bruins. They made it very far in the World Series last year. Lost to Oklahoma 1-0, an Oklahoma team that three-peated. They've won the past 3 years, 2024, 2023, and 2022. They won the championship. Extremely impressive. I just think they returned a lot of production from last year, and that's going to be key. Taylor Tinsley on the mound is a terrific pitcher. And you also have Megan Grant, and Jordan Woolry, an infielder, who've been terrific pieces for the Bruins. And I think the experience certainly helps from a team that went far last year. And all the other Big Ten teams, they didn't make it that far. So right now, UCLA would be the favorite. But once again, you can't draw a lot out of most of these non-conference games because they're not competitive for the most part.
Sure. UCLA, they are without Maya Brady this
right.
season, so that's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
She was an all-star.
Yeah, she was one of their best players last year for sure.
So, the Bruins, could they come into the Big Ten and take it down? We'll see. We're going to transition to women's swim and dive. Here is the sole result from the past week. Number 13, Wisconsin swept the Badger Invitational, which hosted UW Green Bay and UW Milwaukee. All Big Ten teams are now looking forward to the Big Ten Swim and Dive Championships, which are being held February 19th through 22nd. We're going to stay here and bring you results from women's tennis as well. Number 6, UCLA suffered a pair of tough losses to number 12, Oklahoma, and unranked LSU, losing both 4-3. The Bruins did, however, take down unranked Illinois 4-1 to end the week on more of a positive note. Number 7, Michigan lost to number 12, Oklahoma 4-3. The Sooners appear to have the Big Ten's number at the moment. And lastly, number 17, OSU smoked unranked Notre Dame 6-1. And that is going to wrap up today's show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Big thanks to our producer, Colin Dusick, for making all of this possible. Be sure to subscribe and follow us on Twitter and Instagram at B1G_under10, and come back next week for our next episode of Big Ten Under 10.